I can go shut that if you want.
Yeah, maybe. Hey, go ahead and call this meeting to order. First item is roll call.
Alderman Arnold.
Here.
Alderman Bray.
Here.
Alderman Cleaver.
Here.
Alderman Knox.
Here.
Alderman Mills.
Here.
Alderman Skinner.
Here.
There is a quorum.
Next item be invocation led by Daryl Jones from Crossroads. And then we have Pledge of Allegiance for Alderman Knox.
Let's pray together. Blessed are you, Lord, our God and Creator of the universe. We're grateful tonight for this assembly, for our aldermen, our city staff, our mayor, the work that they do, the dedication they have to represent our community, and just looking out for the betterment of our residents and the generations to come. Pray that you would bless them tonight as they discuss maybe difficult things, as they discuss ordinances, and as they discuss decisions, as they discuss things that where maybe there's dissension and not unity on things. God, I just pray that you would help each of them to keep in mind that they represent our community and not just themselves. And so as they do so, God, I pray that you would bring us to unity. Bless our community in the coming days with the weather. Keep us safe. And may we glorify you through it all. In Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, next item is the approval of the agenda.
No changes, Mayor.
Seeing no proclamations, move on to public comment. We ask that anyone who wishes to address the board come forward to the microphone. Please make sure you've signed in with your name and address for the record. Do we have anyone who wishes to address the board this evening? Seeing none, move on to consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the consent agenda.
I have motion from Alderman Skinner to approve the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Alderman Knox. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. All right. Seeing no previous business, new business, presentations, or public hearings, we will move on to resolutions. First, we have Resolution R24-01, a resolution authorizing the city administrator to enter into an agreement with the Mid-America Regional Council Solid Waste Management District as related to Grand Valley's participation in the 2024 Regional Household Hazardous Waste Collection Program.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve resolution number R24-01.
I have a motion from Alderman Skinner to approve Resolution R24-01. Do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Bray. Any discussion?
Mayor, members of the board, this is a program that we have been involved with Mid-America Regional Council and other jurisdictions for quite some time, but essentially it allows Grand Valley residents the opportunity to get rid of their household hazardous waste. We do generally co-host an event with Jackson County once a year, and there are other mobile events throughout the year, and then they also have access to the year-round facility in Kansas City. So it's kind of a resource for our residents.
Can we just close the door?
Well, it's an open meeting, so I've already asked them to step outside once.
All right, any additional discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. All right. Next up will be Resolution R24-02, a resolution by the Board of Aldermen of the City of Grand Valley, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to purchase water meters for the 2024 meter replacement program.
Mayor, I move that we approve resolution R24-2.
I have a motion from Alderman Arnold to approve Resolution R24-02. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Alderman Knox. Any discussion?
Mayor, members of the board, this is an annual program that we have that's been going on since 2010. But essentially it would be replacing 400 meters per year. Over time, water meters do lose some of their accuracy, and tracking the amount of water that goes through. So this kind of puts us on a rotation to, over a certain number of years, be able to replace those meters. Originally, it started as 335 per year. We have upped that to 400 with just the sheer number of accounts that we have at this time.
Additional discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Alright. Next up is Resolution R24-03. It's a resolution by the Board of Aldermen of the City of Grand Valley, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to enter into an agreement with Clearspan for materials and labor to repair salt storage building.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve Resolution R 24-03.
Motion by Alderman Bray to approve Resolution R24-03. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Alderman Knox. Any discussion?
And Mayor, members of the board, this was something that was brought up during budget time, but essentially our salt barn at the Public Works facility. Over time, essentially the canopy or the protectant has weathered and is in need of replacement. And as we talked about then, water and salt don't typically go too well together. So that was kind of the urgency or the need to get that done.
Any additional discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Next up is Resolution R24-04. A resolution by the Board of Aldermen of the City of Grand Valley authorizing the city administrator to expend funds to purchase computer equipment.
Mayor, I move that we approve resolution number R24-04.
I have a motion Alderman Cleaver to approve Bill R23-04. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mills. Any discussion?
Mayor, members of the board, similar to the VERP or the Vehicle Equipment Replacement Program, we have the same thing for computer equipment, and this would be the funds needed to make those purchases for the 2024 program.
Any additional discussion?
Do we have a preferred vendor on that, or do we have to go out to bid or something?
Yeah, I mean, usually through, I think, Net Standard, we've typically used CDW, who is on the competitively Sourcewell, yeah.
Any additional discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Next up is Resolution R24-05. It's a resolution by the Board of Aldermen of the City of Grand Valley authorizing the city administrator to expend funds to purchase access control card reader equipment for city facilities.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve resolution R 24-05.
A motion by Alderman Knox to approve Resolution R24-05. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Alderman Cleaver. Any discussion?
Mayor, members of the board, also during budget time, one of the things we brought up was the little things that you scan your badges on when we come in. Essentially, they're past their useful life, and we can't do anything to expand the system, or really even work on it at this point. So the proposal that is before you is going to a brand that will be the same thing that's going in the police station as well. So you'd be able to use the same credentials in both.
Refresh me, Ken. This is expandable, correct?
Yes. And this would be replacing it in all the buildings that currently have them.
Any additional discussion? All right. Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Next up is Resolution R24-06. It's a resolution by the Board of Aldermen of the City of Grand Valley, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to purchase a 2025 Freightliner 108 SD dump truck and accessories for the Public Works Division.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve resolution R 24-06.
A motion by Alderman Mills to approve Resolution R24-06. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Alderman Skinner. Any discussion?
Mayor, members of the board, this is our first, would be the replacement for the first dump truck that was purchased a number of years ago that is up for replacement on the vehicle equipment replacement program.
Right. Any discussion?
I'm not against the purchase. I know the need for it. I know what we have is still meeting our need. I'm concerned this is the largest purchase of the items that we're covering here tonight, in almost $200,000 purchase. And with the uncertainty that we're facing with some of the litigation going against Jackson County and the fact that they may come back and take money from us if they lose that litigation so they can repay that back to the taxpayers that they had audited in the process there. I think purchases like this might need to be pushed back a little bit till we see more about where that's gonna go, so that we don't end up having to pull out of reserves to give back to Jackson County, funding that we've spent on these things. And, you know, it's like, I'm not against the spending of it. I'm just, the timing of it is something that worries me, that if something goes the other direction with Jackson County.
Yeah, no, I understand. One thing with this particular purchase and where it would be funded from is water, sewer, and transportation, with the bulk of it being water and sewer, which come from utility bills, the enterprise funds, and not from the general fund side that would be coming from property taxes.
How much of the 200,000 does come from property taxes?
Actually, none of it, because the transportation's the other part. So this wouldn't, as far as like funding sources or revenue coming in or not coming in that we're expecting, it wouldn't be these funds. This is just strictly transportation, water, and sewer.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure we're careful there, that we're not going out and spending money we might have to come back up with later.
Yeah, and just as we look at any of those things too, just keep in mind that general fund is the biggest part of the tax levy there, but it's broken down into we have general fund, parks. Our finance director here looks like he really wants to talk.
Me to assist. We do have the 4 property tax levies, the public health, general fund, debt service, and finally for the public and perks.
Okay, that's my only question.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Next up is Resolution R 24-07, a resolution by the Board of Aldermen of the City of Grand Valley authorizing the city administrator to sign an agreement with the Blue Springs, Missouri Police Department for confinement of prisoners at the Blue Springs Police Department detention units.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve resolution number R 24-07.
Got a motion by Alderman Skinner to approve Resolution R 24-07. Do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Knox. Any discussion?
Mayor and members of the board, this is something Chief Turner had worked on, but it's something we've had an agreement with them in the past on, so this is an update to that agreement.
So are they able to take people now? 'Cause I know for a while they weren't really taking any, right? 'Cause they didn't have staff or.
Yeah, so far they've been able to take our detainees, so we haven't had any problem. I think the COVID piece is over and their staffing has improved.
What's the ratio of housing in Blue Springs compared to, is it Ray County who's our secondary?
Yeah, so Blue Springs is just a initial stop if someone cannot bond out
Yeah.
promptly. And generally, they're going to be at Blue Springs for no more than 24 hours. If they can't bond out, then we will transport them to Ray County for longer term if the judge deems that's necessary.
Are there any other local departments who are doing what Blue Springs is doing? Or are they the only department that's kind of made up as an operation like that?
Yeah, they're kind of the only one in the immediate area that we have options at temporary holding.
Yeah. So is Independence, you guys, or I shouldn't say you anymore, your former employer had a jail staff, and then where would they transport to?
Johnson County.
Okay.
Yeah, they're short term. They wouldn't keep it more than a couple days. And then they're probably 1 or 2 days, and then they're taking them to Johnson County.
Okay.
Similar situation as we're doing. We're just using Blue Springs.
Right. Is there a cost difference between Blue Springs and Ray County?
Yes, so, well, Blue Springs won't hold long-term, and we'll send them, the judge can send them up there for, several weeks if needed. $45 per 24-hour period for Blue Springs. So it's relative in cost, but they offer 2 different holding terms.
Sure, yeah. Can we book our prisoners in Blue Springs, or do we have to take them here, book them, and then take them to Blue Springs?
We book them and print them here, and then we try to bond them here. In fact, we work on our credit card machine that'll help us bond people out more, so we have to use it less.
Okay.
We're just not there yet.
Okay.
New facility, we're hoping to implement that.
Okay, thanks.
Will we be able to house up to 24 hours with the new building?
And not without staffing,
That's why I was wondering, have to have a jailer.
correct.
Any additional questions? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Next up is Resolution R 24-08, a resolution by the Board of Aldermen of the City of Grand Valley authorizing the city administrator to execute an agreement with the Grand Valley School District for school resource services.
I make a motion to approve resolution R 24-08.
I have a motion by Alderman Arnold to approve Resolution R 24-08. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Alderman Skinner. Any discussion?
So, Mayor, members of the board, this is an update or the yearly update to our agreement with the Grand Valley School District on how the funding will be split and responsibilities will be laid out between the officer for the SROs.
Any discussion?
Hey, while I'm, I think a presence is needed there. While looking through this whole process, it calculates out that their school district's only covering 50% of the salary and benefits of the officers while they have their services for 11 months out of the year. We have, from my understanding from city manager, the combat money covers some of the costs of the officers being there, where our cost is only 20%. But that's fine, well, and good. But the concern here is that maybe we should be looking for a little more support from the school district on the cost of those officers, because we're covering half of their salary, half of their benefits. We're covering vehicle expenses and so forth, all the other deals there. And so there's 1 month out of the year that they theoretically are available to us, but then they're probably taking vacations or covering vacation spots for other officers. So we're short-staffed. And it brings up the fact that we are having such a difficulty getting officers for the street, which in Jackson County, we're required to have more training than someone just across the county line in Lafayette or county, let's say. So I don't know as we're at the point yet where maybe Grand Valley the school district needs to look at getting their own security, because they don't necessarily, I think, require a full-fledged officer for that security. But it's something in the future that we need to start looking at. I feel like we need to look at this hard as to whether or not we're actually getting a fair reimbursement from the school district for those officers that are there. And the only other issue I had with the bill that affects us is it states that this is an auto-renewing contract, that the board won't have opportunity to review this on a biannual or every 3 years or whatever. It's an automatic renewing clause at the beginning of the contract, that we would only open it up to discuss the finances or changes there, which I think that future boards should have the opportunity to look at this contract in its entirety on a regular basis. So those are my concerns.
So, I mean, is it your belief that we should not approve this and have no SROs?
And that's where I'm at here, is that we're already into the contract year of January through December on this particular issue.
Well, I'm sure we can break it. I'm just trying to figure out your mindset here. Are you saying that we shouldn't have SROs in our school?
No, I'm not saying that at all. Until another option's available, it's something that's gonna have to be done.
So you're thinking that if tomorrow the school came to us and said, or let's not say the school, let's say Chief came to us and said, we're not gonna have SROs anymore. I need them for the road. We're gonna have private security come in. We're gonna have Titan security from Kansas City come in and run our schools. You would be okay with that?
It's done in a lot of schools around the community. I mean, Blue Springs doesn't provide it in Blue Springs.
Those are post-certified police officers.
I know they are, but that's because the the school district of Blue Springs has gone and gotten a state statute.
And I'd be totally fine with that if the Grand
If
Valley
that's
School
what
District
Grand
had
Valley
their own
wants to
police
do.
department, sure.
And through that process, that's maybe with the direction we need to start talking. But we're like, as we've known for the past number of years, we're running short of officers on the street.
Right.
And
But
we
part
need
of this paying this is, and Chief, tell me if I'm wrong, or Ken, tell me if I'm wrong, but if tomorrow something happens in the city, the police officer at the high school can go to the call. He's not forced to stay at the school.
That's correct. We routinely have them come out. In fact, the Ray County Transportation pulls an officer out of the city, and we evaluate the load of work that's going on at the school. And at times, school resource officers are actually doing some shuttle runs at the end of the day so that we can alleviate taking officers off the road. There's a lot of benefits, probably more than you want me to get into here, but I'm happy to delve into anything that's needed for the board and the mayor and the board.
Yeah, I would add to Alderman Arnold's, maybe to answer some of your question. We are asking for this to be approved today. I can tell you that doesn't mean that Chief Turner's conversations with the school district on coming up with what we feel is best going forward is not happening. I can tell you those discussions are ongoing and are likely probably to change in the future.
Could I briefly comment on that? Mayor and members of the board. So there's an ongoing conversation. The school board's budget runs, starts July 1. They're in the middle of working on that now. There's been conversation to make changes in the future, but being respectful as a working relationship with them, understanding their parameters of what they need, that we are moving the needle that way. It just isn't going to happen immediately. And so we're trying to balance our needs and their needs, and we're going to end up in a better place. It's just going to take probably one more cycle or half a cycle to get that done. That's my belief at this point.
Yeah, and I don't have a problem with the school having security in there. I just think we still need to have SROs who oversee their security.
And that's what needs to be worked out in the time in the future to come, whether we provide one officer that's a supervisor over whatever security they decide to go to. If they go with an outside security, if that's something workable, that'll be totally up to the school district, because that's their control, their jurisdiction of what goes on their property. My concern is that we're losing valuable officers from the force for a significant amount of the year. Only a 50% reduction or recoup for that time that they're committed to another location. And so if we're going to work on better balancing that process, that's a step in the right direction. Thus would go back to my other concern about this being an auto renewing contract, because if it doesn't come up before the board to renew the contract, questions like this will go, without any opportunity for the board to review it, other than what they're talking about, additional money or whatever duties that they might have the officers do, would be the only limiting opening of the contract. So I would like to suggest that we strike that auto renew to make it a biannual, every 2 years, because that way that the boards that follow us will have the same opportunity to look at this issue as we have today.
I mean, this is just a resolution. It's not legally binding.
This has given the city manager the opportunity to sign the contract with the school district.
I assume we as the board could kill this.
Yeah, so the part that he's talking about there, so the term of this is January 1 through 2024. It ends on December 31st, 2024. And it does say that agreement will renew or automatically renew annually. However, the parties recognize the necessity of mutual review of this agreement in order to make any necessary adjustments to the terms and conditions, including compensation paid by the district to the city. So, that's why it comes back every year to, even if it's just a salary change or if there are actual terms to it, it comes back and the renewing is basically essentially the idea is the city and the school district being in an agreement for SROs, I guess is the.
And I agree we need to have a good partnership with the school district. It's just, we need to be cognitive of what we're doing for the citizens of Green Valley as a whole.
Yeah, and I would add too, with dollar amounts like this, that's not something that I would just sign anyway. That's where it would click over into the board needing to approve it.
Mayor, I don't have a copy of last year's agreement. I do know that this is an agreement that we have reviewed year after year after year since I've been the city attorney. So I can't tell you, whether, last year's agreement had the exact same language. I would not be surprised if it did. When it comes to this agreement every year, Ken sends it over to us. We reach out to the Blue Springs city attorney, which we did this year. Nobody has any questions or concerns about looking through it every year, and it gets passed. So it is a document that lasts from January 1st through December 31st. And because of the holidays and because of the way meetings, commonly fall, it's difficult for cities to, either do that business at the end of December or at the beginning of January. And, for that matter, here we sit on January the 8th. trying to approve a contract that truly began on January 1st, as an example. It's not like it just automatically rolls over without a review. We've always reviewed it.
And it's subject to review at any time if anybody or the majority of the board wants to review it and possibly change or rescind the contract as it states later in the contract. We can rescind it with 60-day notice from it, like what I read there. So it's, you know, it is constantly open for review for us, but I think we do a number of contracts that we come in and we talk about renewing the contract, and it being just a regular contract that we're renewing from multiple years or whatever for services that we do for the water towers and other things there. But at least we're bringing it in and we're talking about it and then allowing the board to have a more of a presence in it.
Yeah, this will still come back. This comes back every year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and the only other one is the individual from the other side that'd be assigning this at one time. I don't know if he still is a city employee.
What's that?
The individual from the school district that will be signing this for the contract, still a part-time employee for the city. Mr. Sappel.
Oh, I was.
School board president.
He is a part-time employee. Yeah.
Okay, and it's not to our side. It might be construed as a conflict of interest for him to be working for us and signing contracts with us for the school district. But that's on his purview.
Chief, if you guys were having one of those days and you're out having to run calls and stuff, can we pull resource officers out to get them on the street? Or we just do it after hours, or?
No, they routinely pull off this, and this is a open agreement and open discussion with the school administration. They understand that's the role, and they understand the dynamics of our job, and so they're very lenient and understanding that the time comes we do pull them out. You know, the school makes up 20% of the city's population, and that's a significant part of who we serve. There's a lot more into it. Those relationships work in every facet of most of the calls we get into, because 20 kids spread across the city, there's a lot of interwoven parts to that, and they become liaisons to families and a lot of bigger issues that aren't seen on the surface. So it's a good I'm not, you know, there's a lot, like I said, there's a lot more I could get into. They're pulled as needed to help on emergency situations.
That's what I was wondering. If you can just pull them anytime on emergency, kind of like fire department, you know, we had mutual aid, we called from out, you know, first we'd bring in our off-duty guys, so that would kind of be the, okay.
Just the final question, I've asked this the last time we redid this as well. Is there anything in this that stops our officers from having tasers inside the school?
No.
They can have everything that's on their normal duty belt inside the school?
That's correct.
Okay. Any additional discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. That's it for resolutions.
The first ordinance is Bill number B24-01. This is an ordinance of the Board of Aldermen of the City of Green Valley, Missouri, amending section 130.020 court costs.
Mayor, I move that we accept Bill B24-01, bring it back for a second read at our next regularly scheduled meeting.
Okay, I have a motion from Alderman Knox to approve Bill B24-01 for its first reading, bring it back by title at our next meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Mayor, members of the board, you may be familiar with quite a few of these type ordinances that have come through. Essentially, it's a kind of a housekeeping item on our end. It's just making sure the ordinances say what we're actually allowed to do by state law. And that's what this is. It's going up and making sure that the costs that we can and can't assign are accurate with what the Supreme Court has ruled.
All right, any discussion, comments? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
This is the first reading of Bill number B24-02. This is an ordinance of the Board of Aldermen of the City of Green Valley, Missouri, amending section 140.010 community center rental rates and section 140.020 community pool fee schedule.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we accept the first reading of Bill number B 24-02 and bring it back for its second reading by title only at our next regular session.
A motion, Alderman Mills, to approve Bill B 24-02 for its first reading, bring it back by title only for its second reading. Do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Bray. Any discussion?
Mayor, members of the board, this is kind of another housekeeping item. So every year when you approve the budget, you approve the fee schedule that goes along for all the different fees that we charge. We did realize in the code, it actually lists out the individual fees, which would mean every year you'd have to go in and update those sections of the code. So essentially what you have in front of you, where it would have those dollar figures now, it would reference seeing the fee schedule that is approved by the board on a yearly basis. So as those adjustments are made, you don't have to go in and change the code as well.
Any discussion, questions?
For our, like the pavilions and the athletic fields, is there, if you're somebody who doesn't live inside the city, is there a difference between like a fee schedule? Is there a difference? Exactly.
Right. Yeah,
Do non-residents get a different rate than?
certain facilities, there is a resident and non-resident rate. A lot of the community center rental rates have both a resident and non-resident. I know you'd mentioned athletic fields, so athletic fields, the pavilion, the shelters, is just a flat rate, whether you're resident or non-resident.
I mean, what, not to disagree with you, I'm just wondering, like, why community center versus, why, why shouldn't we be charging somebody who lives outside the city more for a pavilion rental than?
And not that I can really answer that, other than that's what was established by the board when the community center was first built back in '01. They had put in a resident and a non-resident rate. We've just kind of stayed with it. We've not changed anything, whether resident, non-resident, just the fees.
Yeah.
So.
Go ahead.
I can shed some light on that, Mayor. So commonly, cities are authorized to charge non-residents a higher rate than residents. And commonly, the reason that cities do that is residents are offsetting city costs by paying cities' property taxes where non-residents are not. And so one of the reasons for that is to help level the playing field for folks who are utilizing the same services that residents are, but not paying a property taxes. That balances that out.
Yeah, no, it makes sense to me. I was just kind of curious why we didn't do it with some of our other stuff.
I guess I'd look at, is our pavilion usage pretty high? I mean, are we having to turn people away for?
The pavilion itself is not, the shelters are, the park shelters are.
And the shelters do not have a resident, non-resident rate?
We do not, no, and they're in rental blocks, so you'll rent a 4-hour period in the morning into the afternoon, or you can rent one afternoon into early evening, or there's a separate rate for all day.
I would say on our higher usage stuff, maybe in the future, we'd want to look at it. I mean,
And I was thinking like athletic fields too. I don't know what
they're probably,
are those pretty hard to get a hold of during the prime baseball
Yeah,
times?
so when we're in season in the spring, so that would be late April through into June, and then we're in season again for fall ball, which would be late August into end of October. We do not rent the fields out just because our own boys baseball, girls softball teams fill all our available time slots on all 6 of our fields. So really, we're limited to kind of opening it up to the general public to rent for a small window of time in March, and then usually the month of July, and then that's about it. And we get some interest for both, I guess, coaches who have teams that are in Grain Valley as well as outside.
Do our leagues play on the weekends?
They do not. Generally, for the most part, all games are in the spring, Monday through Thursday, fall, Sunday through Thursday. We get into Friday nights and Saturdays if we get into a bunch of rainouts, and we have to make up ball games. But the teams that have practices Monday through Thursday, they lose those practice times once games start because games are on the same fields. So then that's when we get Saturday, Sunday. They get still a practice in
Makes sense.
each week on the weekends.
Thanks.
Additional discussion or questions? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. That's it for ordinances. Next up, city attorney's reports.
Mayor, members of the board, two things for you this evening. The first is I put an announcement out to clients, but I know it doesn't get to necessarily everybody. I did want to announce that we have very happy news out of Loudoun Municipal Law. As of the 1st of January this year, we've admitted 2 new equity partners to the firm. So the firm's ownership has actually changed. The little baby that I created 13 years ago is growing up, and we've now admitted Jennifer Baird and Jeremy Cover as equity partners in the firm. So you won't really see any differences yourselves. I know Stephen probably will notice some difference because it actually changes the ownership structure of the firm, and we had to send some new W-9s and different forms like that. But it's very exciting for us that we're moving to a new level as a firm and have multiple owners, and and I'm very fortunate to have had Jennifer and Jeremy help me over the last 9 years that they've been with the firm to kind of help us grow to the point we are. So that's a really cool thing, and wanted to share that with you. The second item is I am leaving on Wednesday to go on vacation. I will be out of the country and will not be able to get to my emails and voicemails during that time. And I will be back beginning the 22nd of January. I just closed it out here. We did create coverage for me while I'm out of the office. Sorry, I had this pulled up and I closed it. While I'm out, you can reach out to James Newell in our Lee Summit office and Jennifer Baird also in our Lee Summit office, and they will be making sure that any of your coverage issues are seamless during that time. So just wanted to let you know on that, and I'll look forward to being refreshed and recharged and come see you beginning the 22nd of January. That's all I have, Mayor.
All right. Next up, City Administrator staff reports.
You had a written report from Community Development, and then Ms. Logan.
I just wanted to update you guys on the candidate filing for the April 2nd, 2024 general municipal election. We did have 6 candidates file. We have Alderman Knox as the incumbent for Ward 2, Alderman Skinner, the incumbent for Ward 3, Kyle Soul for Alderman Ward 1, Mike Todd, the incumbent as mayor, Dale Arnold as a mayor candidate, and then Chuck Johnston as Alderman Ward 1 candidate. And that is all.
Okay, the only other thing I had in your mailboxes, you will see a little book, and it's from Tri-County Water Authority. They just celebrated 30 years of existence, and one of the firms that has done a lot of the engineering work over time kind of put a little book that shows just kind of the history of that. So might just be kind of a neat little history lesson, I guess, for you guys, just to see how everybody in the area has grown. So if you aren't familiar, we get our water from Tri-County in the city of Independence. So it is one of our 2 water providers. And that is it for staff comments.
All right. Next up, Board of Aldermen reports, comments. Alderman Arnold.
Nothing at this time.
Alderman Mills.
Nothing at this time.
Alderman Bray.
Just Happy New Year to everyone. And then the other thing, I wanted to reach out to Chief and say that I know the past couple of months you guys have had some pretty big calls happen here in town, and I appreciate the way you guys handle it. And I think the city gets you and the department handling those situations.
Alderman Skinner.
Yeah, I'll second that. We're lucky to have you. So before this meeting, we had the meeting that was asked by the HOA for what's going on in Woodbury. I would like to have a meeting, and this is the reason why I'm asking this in the open format, because I don't know how we want to take the next step, and I know Mike, you're probably going to bring it up too, but before it was myself, Mike, and Alderman Bray who were meeting with the HOA. I don't know. The next step, I think, is we need to have an internal meeting with us as the board, or if we just want to have myself, Alderman Bray, and Mike handle this. But I would like to have a meeting with the board, with city staff, with some of the bullet point questions that we had, because I'm not a professional when it comes to inspections and the way these plans happen, and I would like to go call it a fact-finding mission. I would like to know what is, being said and how much of it is there city fault? Is there no city fault? We did everything to a T. Is it the wards? Is it their fault? Is it the HOA's fault? I just want to find out what's going on. And so my question is, I would like to call for a meeting, and I don't know if that meeting needs to be like us as the board, or if it's just going to be us three who do it and there's not a quorum. I don't know, and I want to get everybody's thoughts here. I don't know how much, Darren wants to get involved in Woodbury's HOA. So I don't know how much it was a fun meeting. So, and I think that we, during that meeting, I would like to have the city attorney there as well. So your vacation plans are canceled. So, I mean, if we could have somebody from that side as well, because I think there is a little bit, there's like civil stuff going on, and I don't want to get too far down that road. I don't want to be deposed in any type of courtroom. So I'd like to have legal there as well for that meeting. I think that's really important. So any feedback that,
I talked to Joe a little bit, and I think if we can get those bullet points to him, the firm can look at it and see what there is actually something that, the city can be involved in necessarily.
Well, I think my personal opinion is if it's, okay, like I went out and I looked at the pool house, right? And I have some serious questions like how in the world did this pool house get built 5 inches from this guy's property? And at one point it was on his property. I have serious questions about that. And it could easily have been is on paper, they put that this was 10 foot off the property line, which is fine. Is there not like an in-person, and these are just questions because I don't know. I'm not a professional. I don't work for the government. I don't know how that works. So,
right. If I might, Mayor, so I guess the first thing I would suggest is you should probably, you will never have a situation where you're going to have the city attorney in a public meeting giving you legal advice.
No,
okay. Our responsibility as aldermen and as individuals who are protecting the city's best interests would be that, to the extent that there, could be any liability, which is doubtful in this circumstance for the city, we certainly wouldn't want to talk about that liability outside of a closed session meeting. So, to that end, I think, if there are bullet point questions that you were presented, certainly working through with staff to have that information passed along is, a great first step. We could certainly review some of those bullet points to the extent that there may be some legal issues that need to be discussed. Then we could, look at having, at least a closed session to discuss those. If you have a full quorum at a meeting, and we're not talking about closed session items, and you would have to notice that up as a sunshine law meeting. If you're meeting with less than a quorum, that's not necessary at that point, because less than a quorum of the Board of Aldermen cannot conduct business. They can certainly fact find, and they can gather information to either take back to the rest of the board, to take back to staff, or both, which sounds like you're already working through that process at this point. I would recommend that to whatever extent we could get some information to review it. We might be able to provide either a confidential memo or some information to the city administrator or the mayor that could be passed back to you, or we could meet in a closed session to talk about those issues, so that you can think about that information based then on, what legal options the city may have or may not have. I know generally there isn't a lot that cities can do in these matters, but I've only heard just a little bit about this matter, so I would like to see more before I would say, much further. But I deal with, homeowners association complaints and builder and developer complaints on a regular basis in what I do, and commonly they end up being civil matters and not matters for the city to handle. But obviously we need to look at all of the issues before we would know exactly what to say about this one.
and I think you're probably right. I think that most of it probably is a civil thing, but I think there's probably a lot of it that maybe we could have got in front of if we known, hey, maybe we should have some ordinances in place to stop some of this future stuff from happening. So I think it is worth the board's time to look into it. So I think my thought for next steps would be to call an executive session meeting once we have these bullet points. So once we get the bullet points, we call for an executive session meeting. Everybody from the board, my thought would be everybody from the board's involved. I would like to see we have I'd like to see Mark attend. I'd like to have him in the room so we can ask him questions. I'd like to have a city attorney there. I'd like to have Ken there. And I'd like to be able to get answers to the questions that we have. So we, as a board who are being asked these questions and being, sitting in a meeting with 50 people, maybe not that much, but quite a few people, we can actually talk intelligently and know, like, hey, this is something that we should have done. This really isn't our problem. This is on the developer. So, I mean, I think my next step would be, I think we should schedule that executive session once we do get this information from the HOA. Because there's no other way that we can have that executive session meeting without calling an executive meeting, right? We can't do that with us three. We can't have that meeting without it being in the public. And having a city attorney there and having staff there. Unless I'm wrong.
I think on the initial where we are today, the fact finding could probably be just the three of us. Beyond that, I think the whole board needs to be involved because ward development does not just develop at Ward 3.
I think if we're having a meeting with city staff and the lawyers and stuff, I would like to invite everybody to be a part of that meeting. I think if it's us having a conversation with constituents in our ward, that's one thing. But I think if we're bringing in people who work for the city and to set up part of this meeting, like we had a meeting, we had Chief there for me. I don't see any difference between this and this is just.
I think the first thing is we have to get that
100%,
list,
yeah,
and then pass that on to Ken and Joe. And then once they are able to compile that, then we can call. I mean, we can call an exec session after the next meeting. I mean, whatever, or even a special exec session if we need to. Once we have all that answered.
I mean, do you agree? Is that?
Yeah. I mean, I think like the entire board probably needs to be involved because it could very well come down to being just not a Woodbury thing. So.
And that's my point, right? Yeah. I mean, there's a good chance that a lot of this stuff, there's nothing we can do about it, right? But there's a good chance, based off some of the stuff I'm hearing, that maybe there are ordinances we can bring up to stop some of this stuff when the next development occurs. I think we would, I think we'd be falling down if we didn't take this as an opportunity as a city to say, hey, what went right, what went wrong, how do we fix this going forward? Is it really our problem? I don't know, but let's just review everything. I think we'd be wrong to not do that. So once we get that email, I can send an email to Jamie and start that process of an executive session.
Depending what they find with the bullet questions, if we've done no wrong and have nothing that we have failed at in our processes through the process, but there are things that we could change to prevent this in the future, I don't see that as a need for an executive session. That'd be more like a work session.
I think we should have an executive session first because there might be personnel questions we're asking about. There might be.
Well, and if there is that, yes. Yeah. But
no, I think that we should have that first meeting because I think there are going to be those questions based off what I've just heard.
Some of the questions they were asking were personnel related.
I can go ahead and just say that those questions are
that may boil down to that man's responsibility if we've got a personnel issue.
Well, I think we should have, and again, this is why I'm saying, and I would call the meeting after bullet points, is have that executive session. If there's no reason, if we get in there and there's no personal issue, if there's no executive session material, then guess what? We have nothing to talk about. Meeting's canceled. We're done. And then we can have this open conversation. But I'm not gonna. It's very inappropriate of us to have an open meeting like that and be asking questions about personnel in an open setting. That's unprofessional, and I would never do that.
Well, we wouldn't be doing that.
Right.
It'd just
That's why we're not going to do that.
If we did an open meeting, it'd just be what ordinances or codes we need to adjust to alleviate any future issues similar to this. But yes, personnel questions shouldn't be in an open meeting. Yeah.
So yeah, I will call for that meeting once we have this and get it over to city staff to look at. Then I'll call for that executive session meeting. That's all I have.
Okay. Alderman Knox.
I have nothing.
All right. Alderman Cleaver.
Nothing tonight.
All right. All right. Next up, mayor's report. Pretty much talked about it all there with the Skinner stuff, so I don't think I have anything else to add. Everyone stay safe out there. Road crews are ready, right?
They're out there now.
All right. Didn't really pre-treat because of that rain. I don't like it with that.
Nope, they waited until after the rain was done.
I know, that always stinks though. We can't get a better head start on it, but they already canceled school.
I think I saw a text come through that it was.
I'm sure. I mean, that was a pretty much a given. I think so. All right. Do we have any session to do? All right. So everyone get home safely. I think I'm gonna head that. We will adjourn.